everyone, my name is Victoria, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be reading Sasha Alsberg's new book. So, a few years back, Sasha Alsberg, aka A Book Utopia, co-wrote and published a duology with author Lindsay Cummings called the Andromeda Saga, which consisted of Zenith and Nexus. And boy did people have a lot to say about it, just because Sasha was a popular booktuber. I'm not here to do that. This is not a hate read video. I'm also not a Sasha Uber fan or anything. I used to watch her videos when I was younger. I don't really anymore. That's the extent of my relationship there. She doesn't know I exist. I did read the Andromeda Saga way back when, and I enjoyed Zenith, and I did not like Nexus. Like, I think I gave Zenith a 4 stars and Nexus a 2. But I always feel like I can't really judge an author's writing on a thing that was co-written with somebody else, because I don't know how much of that was their writing and how much of that was the other person's writing. So in order to say how I feel about either Sasha or Lindsay, I'm gonna have to read a book by each of them. And this is Sasha's first solo author endeavor. This book, Breaking Time, she has been working on this for many years, and she's done a lot of research, so I kind of have some expectations. I'm going into this the way I would go into any other book that I read. I don't care that she's a booktuber. In this regard, she's an author, and I'm going to judge this book the way I judge any other book. Do I enjoy it? Just in general. How good is the plot? How strong are the characters? And what are the relationships doing? And what is up with the writing? Watch me forget that those are the things I want to talk about once I've read it. This book is a sci-fi fantasy, and I think you can probably tell looking at it that it looks very familiar, because it kind of looks like this. Now, I don't want to be one of those people, but I have heard some people say that she's ripping off Outlander with this because it's to do with Scottish people and time travel, and so is this. And she's known to love Outlander and kind of be obsessed with it. But I don't think that's fair. I think that, you know, most books are similar to at least one other book, are repeating the same plots that we've seen time and time again. So I don't think that's a marker of a good or bad author. Also, I can see some distinct differences from Outlander right off the get-go. In Outlander, there was a woman who went back in time to the Scottish Highlands. In this book, our main character is a girl in the modern day, and this guy comes forward from the Scottish Highlands drawn to her. I haven't even told you what this is about yet, but there you go. It's about a girl in modern time who is a pillar of something. A pillar of time. She's the last pillar of time, actually. An anchor point in the timeline of the world and a hiding place for a rogue goddess's magic. And this guy named Callum, who is from Scottish Highlands, is pulled forward in time to her. I believe his friend was one and died, so he wants to protect her. That's my understanding of this. That is very much not what Outlander is about, at least not the first book. I've only read the first book, so who knows where it goes from there. You know, this plot does sound interesting to me. I pre-ordered this book way back in January because I thought I would enjoy it. I'm going into this wanting to like it. I want to make that clear. This is a relatively short book. This is 346 pages long. It came out in June, and I went on Goodreads the other night to see what the public reaction to this book was, because the public reaction to the Zenith and Nexus situation was crazy, and I just wanted to see what people were thinking. But lo and behold, this book has no reviews or ratings, at all. No one's talking about it. I am genuinely shocked by the lack of reviews and ratings on Goodreads. This book, at the time of me filming this, has 247 ratings and 124 reviews. I expected more from that, just on the fact that Sasha is a public figure with a following. What is happening? Why is no one reading this? Are people boycotting it? What's going on? I'm shocked. It's been less than a month since it came out. I guess I have to take that into consideration. I expected this to be one of those books that had an onslaught of reviews before it even came out of people who hadn't even read it yet. It has an average rating of 2.77, which is extremely low. I don't think I've ever seen a book on Goodreads with under 3. 3 is hard to get. It's always 3 point something. There are so few reviews on this that I guess I'm not surprised. The breakdown of the reviews is that that most people seem to be giving it a 3 or a 2 stars, followed by a 4 stars, then a 1 star, then a 5 star. So it's a real mixed bag of what people think of this, but it seems to be sitting somewhere in the middle ground. I'm hoping that I enjoy this. What I'm doing for this video is I'm gonna go away, I'm gonna read this, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm going to explain my thoughts and feelings on this book in detail. There will be no spoilers. I'm not interested in spoiling this book. If you want to read this book, go ahead. I would also love to hear what you think of this book in the comments down below. Let's have a discussion. But I am interested to see what Sasha comes out with on her own. This is entirely her work. I'm intrigued to see not just how the writing and characters work, but how the plot arc stands. It's also a standalone, so it has that going for it. I don't know, I'm intrigued to see where this goes. I'm a little hesitant. I'm just kind of gonna take this book for what it is, and then we will talk about it and we will see, is it actually any good? And obviously any opinion I have is subjective. Yours could be the complete opposite, and that's fine. I'm gonna go read it and I hope it's good. So I finished Breaking Time, and I have very mixed thoughts. First of all, this is not a standalone. Goodreads lied to me. This book has most certainly set up the need for a sequel, because this didn't conclude anything. In terms of rating, I gave this book a 3 stars, but my feelings while reading it were all over the place. The first half of this book I actually really enjoyed, and then we reached halfway and what even happened? Let's just wind back. So this book is dual perspective. We follow a guy named Callum and a girl named Clara, who are both residing in Scotland in vastly different timelines. Callum lives in the mid 1500s, Clara lives in 2022. One night, Callum comes out of the pub to find his best friend dying on the road and ends up getting transported through time into 2022, where he almost gets hit by Clara's car. That's how they meet, and that's like the enticing incident of this book. I'm a little annoyed at the synopsis of this book because it kind of gave away something that is revealed to us like a third of the way through the book. Like, it's quite a while before we even know that pillars of time are an actual thing. I enjoyed the setting. It was very clear to me that Sasha has researched and been to Scotland in the process of writing this book, because the setting is so ingrained into what's happening. It's not that it's particularly well described or anything, although I wouldn't say that it's poorly described. It's just that you feel like it's real. The place is real. It doesn't feel like it's been just kind of molded to fit the story. It feels like the story exists because of the places. Am I making sense? Probably not. It's like 11 p.m. now. The characters, I really enjoyed Clara actually as a protagonist. I thought she was quite engaging. I found her quite relatable. Any parallels between Sasha and her life and Clara and Clara's life did not in any way negatively impact this book. If anything, I think it just meant that we got a more real exploration of a couple of things. Specifically, Clara's grief about her mother, who had died relatively recently before the events of this book started. So I found that really quite an interesting examination of that kind of grief, because it was very well handled, and I think because it was quite a personal thing for Sasha to be disclosing into this novel. I liked Callum as a character, but I found as the book progressed he had less of his own stuff going on. Like, his personality flattened as the book went on. He didn't really have a lot of depth. At the start it seemed like he did, you know, there were mentions of his backstory and what had happened in his life, but then the further we got through the book, the less any of that mattered and the less it was really talked about. He had been yanked forward 500 years almost, but like, didn't seem very fazed by it. There were a few things that happened where I was like, there is no way, there is just no way he would be talking like that or reacting like that or behaving like that, because the social and moral expectations of his time would not allow it. They would be too well ingrained into him to behave in the way that he was behaving at certain points, but only a couple things, and it was really only in service to the romance plot. I have strong mixed feelings about the romance plot in this book. On the one hand, I like it. I like them as a pair. I really liked the slow growth of their relationship and feelings for each other in the first half of this book and in like the last quarter of the book. But there's like a chunk right around the middle towards closer to the end, where it's like it just turned left, and I don't know why, and it accelerated at such an unreasonable rate for no reason. Things happened that didn't feel natural and didn't feel like they needed to happen. It felt very much like it was just there to, I don't know, make their relationship more of a physical point of the book, which I feel like it didn't need to be. I enjoyed it a lot more when it was just something that was naturally occurring along the sidelines of what was happening, and then it really took over for a bit there, and it was odd. I did really enjoy the Scottish mythology that was used here. I don't know how accurate it is because I don't know anything about Scottish mythology, but I did find it quite fascinating. I enjoyed kind of learning about all these different myths and legends. There's a lot in this book to do with gods, and I can't pronounce this because I want to say Samhain, but I'm sure that's not how you say it. The, like, for lack of better term, Halloween-esque celebration. That was a huge pinpoint in this book, and it was very interesting to kind of hear about because I didn't know anything about it until I read this book. I really liked Clara's grandma, Grams. She was fun. She was a fun character. Clara's dad was a little bit absent-minded. I would have liked to have seen more of him because I feel like he stayed a very surface level character and he was not really there for most of the book. Clara's 18. She's still quite young, and like I feel like there should be a little bit more parental influence in her life considering she still lives with her dad. I found the general plot of this book, like the whole time travel-y aspect and the way it was intermingled with all the myths and the actual things that Clara and Callum were trying to achieve. I found those quite interesting. Callum's plotline was a little bit lackluster and I don't think it was necessary. It just made him seem less important, ironically. It really just made it that he was completely and 100% totally centered around Clara. He had nothing else. He was given nothing else in this book to do other than focus on how he can protect Clara, and that felt a little disappointing. I think he had the potential to be a much more interesting character than they let him be. Overall, the writing wasn't too bad. There were a couple moments where I was like, that's a bit cheesy. For the most part, I really enjoyed the writing. It was quick to read and it was easy, and it was, I think, a good reflection of how you think as an 18-year-old. I'm 22, so like maybe I'm wrong. I like to think I was 18 not long ago, so I think Clara was a good example of how you think and feel as an 18-year-old. I'm sure if I was like 16, I would have loved this book. But yeah, so I really enjoyed the start. The middle was what is going on. Towards the end, it got good again, and then the very end, I don't even know what to think about that. I almost wanted to drop my rating to a 2 because of the end. I enjoyed a lot more of this book than I didn't enjoy it, so we're gonna give it a 3. But my god, the ending. It's one of those endings where it doesn't want to let you off the hook, which is annoying because if this was a standalone, I would have enjoyed it more. But the fact that this just seemed to randomly shoehorn, actually no, we're not going to close off this plot. We're going to make you have to pick up another book if you want to know what happens. That annoys me. I feel like the first books in a series should all be a little bit more ambiguous in their endings so that should you choose to, you can have a somewhat satisfying end if you don't want to read further. It needs to at least have some things tied off, but no. All our threads of plot are still wavering in the breeze right now. She did do something I didn't see coming. There was a plot point in here that I didn't expect, and I'm honestly a little impressed that she went that far. I don't know. Overall, I think this was fine. I think that there are definitely going to be people out there who absolutely love this. That being said, it's nothing particularly special. It was unique in the sense of the way that it incorporated Scottish myths and legends. I did enjoy that, and that's something I haven't come across very often. So I don't really have a solid conclusion on how I feel about Sasha Alsberg's writing. I think in the future I'm still just gonna take it as a case-by-case basis. You know, as she releases more books, is it something I think I want to read? Yes, read it. No, won't read it. We have to remember this is Sasha's first solo piece of work. Like, it's essentially a debut novel, really. I mean, it's not because she has 2 co-written books out there, but like I think I can see how her writing has grown. But overall, this was pretty good. It was fine. I think a lot of people will like this. There's definitely nothing awful about it. You know, I do think this book has its merit. It has its audience out there. It was almost me. For all I know, I might end up picking up the sequel. Who knows? ask me when that becomes a thing, but for now, this is a 3 stars. I enjoyed it. I'm glad that I read it, and I'm glad that I gave Sasha another try because I do think in the future she could come out with a book that I'll really enjoy. I just need to keep an eye out. Do I have a conclusion to this video? Is it worth it? I mean, yeah. If the plot sounds interesting to you, then yes, of course it is. Do I think it deserved to be published? As much as I think anything else deserves to be published, I don't hold that authority. This was clearly something that had some passion behind it, so for that reason, I think this is very valid to have been published. But yeah, for the most part, it was pretty good. But I do see potential for Sasha to, you know, get better and better as she writes. I hope she keeps writing. I hope she publishes some more books. You know, I definitely feel like she's come into her writing voice a little bit more in this one. I hope to read more from her in the future. So that was my not very conclusive, probably not very helpful review of Breaking Time by Sasha Alsberg. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did. Comment down below with how you feel about this book. Subscribe if you want to see more from me. I post videos every single week, so there is more coming. I hope to see you next time in a new video. Bye!